Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm going to call to order the Monday, May the 20th, 2024 legislative meeting for the Board of School Directors of Upper Dublin. And Ms. Evans, if you could call the roll of the board, please.
Ms. Evans.
Present.
Sorry. Ms. Iannitti.
Present.
Mr. Held.
Present.
Ms. Redding.
Present.
Ms. Sherpier. Dr. Thomas.
Present.
Mr. Sirota.
Present.
Mr. Warschauer.
He is excused this evening.
Mr. Wallach.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. It's great to see so many guests in our audience tonight for what's always a great evening as we recognize so many people that are very important in our district. At the same time, we'll be saying goodbye to a few, or soon to be goodbye to a few, who are going to go out and find other methods of mirth and merriment after leaving us here in Upper Dublin. So we'll get to that presentation in a minute. Just so everybody sees, Dr. Smith is at a conference, and so she's joining us by Zoom. So instead of having a board member on the screen, we have our superintendent on the screen this evening, but we'll make that work as well. So with that, welcome. We're going to move right into our years of service and retirement recognition part of the program, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hoffman to lead that.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to present our years of service recognition. In total, this group totals 1,295 years of combined service to our district. What's important, though, is you're being recognized not just for those years, but for the invaluable moments and those amazing lessons that you've shared with our students and one another. So thank you. When we call your name, you can come up to the front. We'll begin with our 15 years of service. Peter Baker, Caroline Denon, Bindi Desai, Crystal Dunn, Arafini Gebrahiwat, Heather Graven, congratulations. Keith Harishak, Lisa Harm, Rachel Hardy, Maureen Higgins, Kelly Hood, Stacy Lavenberg, Christy Lawson, Cynthia Noonan, Michael Novia, Twiggy Page, Jamie Rongione, Therese Sharkey, Christopher Springer, Siobhan Trainer, Marcia Wolf. For 20 years of service, Catherine Adamski, Robert Albert, Jessipina Arlotta, Kelly Betancourt, Roberta Bingham. There's always one, and we knew it was going to be Robin, right? Jessica Cowden, Martin Doyle, Michael Fogel. Congratulations. Megan Gallagher, Charles Gessing, Christine Jones, Michael Lesniak, Michael Lynn, David Mancini, Jerome Robinson, Marjorie Scherzer, Alexander Shugsta, Melissa Traber, Edward Wall, and Lauren Weinmeyer. And for 25 years of service, Joshua Adelman, Aurelio Arroyo, Samantha Connolly, Mary DePaul, Amy Durbin, Stephanie Fagan. Congrats. Tracy Gaddy, Megan Goodwin, Jessica Ippolito, Kathleen Matakovic, Michael Nelms, Cheryl Norden, Tina Toffel, Paul Vandergrift. For 30 years of service, Michelle Hendricks, Brad Lieberman, Elizabeth Michaels, congrats. For 35 years of service, Lisa Downs, Donna Pullen, Maureen Schmidt, and Patricia Todd. So another round of applause for all of these amazing people. We'll now move to our retirees for this school year. We thank you, our 23-24 retirees, for your service to our district. Upper Dublin won't be the same without you, but it will certainly not be the same because of you. So thank you for all that you've done. Without further ado, Randy Baldwin, teacher, Sandy Run Middle School. Congrats, Randy. Rodney Basketbill, OMT supervisor, Jarretttown, Maple Glen. Phyllis Chandler, bus driver, transportation. Julie Clapp, teacher, Upper Dublin High School. Andrea Cognetti, educational assistant, Maple Glen Elementary School. Richard DeMarco, teacher, Fort Washington Elementary School. Sarah Feather, administrator, special education. Mary Gooten, teacher, Sandy Run Middle School. Robert Harris, bus driver, transportation. Amy Leary, teacher, Upper Dublin High School. Nancy O'Leary, administrative assistant, Upper Dublin High School. Charles Peters, plumber, Upper Dublin School District. Therese Sharkey, custodian, Sandy Run Middle School. Kenrick Swift, custodian, Sandy Run Middle School. And here, Judith Winship, teacher, Upper Dublin High School. Thank you, Judy. One more round of applause for our retirees. We'll now ask our years of recognition and our retirees to join us out in the lobby. We'll take a brief pause for a picture, and then you can stick around or head home because I know you've had long days. So thank you.
All right, after that presentation and ceremony, I think we can return to our agenda. Next up, we have our Student Government Association report. And I don't think Izzy's here, so I don't think we're going to have a report this month. My guess is we'll get one next month, hopefully. With that, we're going to go on Zoom and Dr. Smith for her superintendent report.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, board. I really appreciate the flexibility this evening to join virtually for our school board meeting. I am attending the PASA conference, which is the Pennsylvania Association of School Administrators, their 40th anniversary of the Women's Caucus this week. I've been here since Sunday. I'll return tomorrow. And the Women's Caucus is really all about supporting, inspiring, and empowering women leaders in education. And I'm proud to be here representing Upper Dublin, along with Mrs. Nusky, House Principal at Sandy Run Middle School, Ms. Martonic, House Principal at our high school, and Ms. Kim, the elementary principal at Thomas Fitzwater, and we'll be sure to share our learning when we return. I know that probably those staff members that were just recognized, I'm sure that they are moving on with their evening, but in case they are listening in at any point, I just wanted to also thank them certainly for their years of service and dedication to the district, as well as congratulate our retirees. I would like to also share that this past week we did have the annual Upper Dublin Medals, which as a first for me was quite a significant event and just a really wonderful way to recognize some of the stakeholders in our community, and appreciated being in attendance. I'd like to give a shout out to the winners. Our outstanding business was Ambler Flower, Jean McGonigal, outstanding educator Dr. Ortiz from Sandy Run. Our outstanding citizen was Art Levinowitz, as the board knows well, and our students were absolutely remarkable, Gus Platt and Julia Axler, and their speeches made it very apparent as to why they were selected to represent the students as the medal winners. We have lots of activities upcoming as we are on the last few weeks of the school year. There are many band, orchestra, and chorus concerts coming up across the next couple of weeks, and senior events as we round out to June 11th at 6 p.m. for graduation. And I'm very much looking forward to that, as I'm sure are our graduates and their families. And lastly, I'll just share that we had a very successful triathlon event Sunday morning before leaving for the conference. I joined I think over 400 participants and many, many volunteers at the high school for the annual triathlon with the partnership with the township. And again, just another wonderful community event occurring in our area. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Smith, and thank you for representing us both here and at the conference with some of your colleagues. With that, we'll move on to our first opportunity for public participation. This is for action items and agenda items only. If anyone wishes to address the board, please come up, state your name, city of residence, or affirm you're a resident or taxpayer of the district, and Ms. Evans will time your 4 minutes.
Hi, Ginny Vitella, Ambler. I can't believe no one else wanted to stay for the meeting. Anyway, so the 2.07% tax increase, I know that's not going to change much, but I feel like I still had to come at least advocate for the community that is, once again, sick and tired of tax increase after tax increase after tax increase. To say that it is below the Act 1 is, we don't care. We don't care. That's not a goal that we shouldn't even be close to it, because there was many years that we were much higher than other school districts. And so that 2% is compounded on compounded and compounded on what we already have. We are estimating for a second, or I think it's the third year in a row of a budget overage of $5 million. And again, I think a budget overage is certainly better than a budget underage. I don't mind that. I think it's conservative thinking. I think that's great. But I think that it should be considered when we're talking about tax increases for the community. We're already planning a $3 million capital reserve, and then we might have another $5 million. And last year we put another $8 million away. We are putting money away, which is good. but the tax increase should go down. We've adding 2 new expensive administrative positions while our enrollment is flat and even decreased by 25, I noticed, from last year at this time. The economy is where it is. People are really struggling. People can't pay for food or gas. They're really hurting. They're maxing out credit card debts. And I think Alima made one of the most kind and thoughtful points at a meeting a month or so ago when she said, we are asking for the community to give us, our district, 2% more of their money so we can save for our future projects. And yet, we're taking that money from them and they can't save that money. And some people are on fixed incomes. It's a real concern to people that are on fixed incomes. They have lived in Upper Dublin a long time, and these tax increases are not keeping up with the increases in Social Security, let's say, and that might be what they're relying on, or their pension payments. So we don't want to force older, aging people that have been dedicated community members of Upper Dublin for years and years and years, just so we can save a little more money, especially, in my personal opinion, wasting it on a bus depot that we don't need for $10 million in a location that's horrible. A member at one point did say, well, it's only a couple $100 or $100 more for taxpayers, and that's not that horrible. Well, I think that's a really insensitive statement because I would never presume what someone can or cannot afford and what's a lot to some families. Those families might want to spend it on their own kids, spend it on their own savings, make ends meet, buy something special for themselves, take a vacation. And that $100 can go a long way to some families that are struggling. So when you talk about a 2% very cavalierly, you have to remember that it's on top of all these tax increases over and over and over again, and it's compounding. And we have to think about people that might not be able to afford it in this time and where we're spending that money. And we should be focusing on any expenditures on children and their educational needs, first and foremost, maybe not some other locations that we are spending on. Thank you.
Seeing no one else approaching, I will close the first opportunity for public participation. Any comments or responses from the board or the administration? Seeing none, we will move on with the rest of our agenda. Next up, we have our minutes. We have minutes from the April 29th, 2024 legislative meeting. They've been circulated to all board members for review. If I could have a motion to approve those minutes, please. Mr. Sirota, thank you. A second?
Second.
Mr. Held, thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Next up are our Education Committee recommendations, and Ms. Sherpier.
All right, thank you. We have 4 items: IEP writing software, a professional learning partnership, conferences, and student activities. And I'd like to make a motion that the board approve all 4 items, A through D.
Thank you for that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Held, thank you so much. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Next up are our Finance Committee recommendations, and Mr. Sirota.
Thank you. We have 13 items tonight under the Finance Committee recommendations, all of which were discussed in detail at the Finance Committee meeting this month, except the last one, item M, which is our regular monthly payments. I'll just call attention in particular to item I, which is approval of our proposed final budget so that it can go out and be advertised for 30 days before we approve our final budget next month. So with that, I would like to make a motion to approve items A through M.
Thank you for that, Mr. Sirota. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Evans, thank you so much. Questions or comments? Ms. Iannetti.
I would like to make I have a question about item K. So that's the hometown ticketing, which we did discuss in the finance meeting, but I just wanted to make sure. So this vote, we're agreeing to work with hometown ticketing, but we're not deciding whether or not that means we don't use cash at events.
That's correct. Hometown ticketing will give us the ability to sell tickets digitally. It does not prevent us from having the opportunity to sell tickets via cash. So I've been working with Mr. Hyland and Ms. Martonic to make sure we know that that's not going to be possible day one. So we'll implement that over time, and we'll certainly evaluate and make sure we meet the needs of anyone that wants to attend our events or activities. So yes, to answer your question in short, we are not eliminating cash as soon as we implement this.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Next up, we have our Personnel Committee recommendations, and Ms. Redding.
We have 4 recommendations for personnel, and I'm making a motion for items A through D.
Thank you, Ms. Redding. Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Ms. Iannetti, thank you so much. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you so much. We do not have any pupil services recommendations this evening, so we'll go right to our Policy Committee recommendations, and Ms. Iannetti.
Okay, we have 4 items, A through D. We have discussed all of these at length in the policy meeting, so I'd like to make a motion to approve them.
Thank you so much. Do I have a second for that motion?
Second?
Dr. Thomas, thank you so much. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent, thank you. We do have one item of other business this evening. Before we take a motion on that, I think I'm going to turn it to Dr. Smith to explain the application for the FID plan.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Wallach. This is a result of Section 1506 of the Pennsylvania School Code. It is really a compliance issue. A FID is a flexible instruction day program. It's available to public schools in the state of Pennsylvania. It allows us to have an alternative approach to the delivery of instruction for certain circumstances that may arise, like an inclement weather day, or most recently during a pandemic. There's certainly other reasons as well. This application allows the school district to use 5 FID days per school year. You do have to develop a plan on the state template, have that approved by the Board of School Directors and submitted for PDE approval. That needs to be completed by June 1st, and that's why we have added it to the agenda this evening. Once approved, assuming that it is approved by the state, then it is good for 3 years, and we don't need to reapply until the end of the 3 years. I just want to share, it is not our intention to move towards FID days or virtual days unless we absolutely would need to. We have inclement weather days built into the calendar for 24-25, and there's also been new legislation that we shared previously at a school board meeting where we now have more flexibility with the scheduling of instructional time. It is 180 days or 900 or 990 hours, depending upon the level. And our calendar certainly meets that with room as well in the event we would need, let's say, additional inclement weather days. So this is really more of a compliance or formality. We have in the event something would happen that we would truly need to use it, but we're not anticipating that. We will certainly provide more logistical details to our staff and other stakeholders should this be approved, as the template itself is very much, as I mentioned, a compliance template answering the questions for the state.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Smith, for that explanation. And Mr. Sirota, if the spirit so moves you, I'll hand you off the other business now.
Sure, I would be happy to make a recommendation. I would move that we approve the flexible instruction days 24-25 plan as attached to these.
Thank you so much. Do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
Ms. Scherger, thank you so much. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you so much. Next up is our solicitor's report and our Sunshine Act announcements. Mr. Piazza.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. The board met in executive session tonight prior to tonight's public meeting. The 2 executive session items that were discussed for the personnel report, the board just voted on a few moments ago. And the board also had a discussion regarding the terms and conditions of the Act 93 administrative compensation plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Piazio. We're now up to our second opportunity for public participation. This can be for any item, agenda or otherwise. Please state your name, city of residence, or affirm you're a resident or taxpayer of the district, and Ms. Evans will time your 4 minutes.
Judy Vitale, again. The hometown ticketing, thanks, Jen, for bringing that up again. Having athletes, we have to go, if there's a night event, you have to pay that. And if they go districts or states, you have to pay that. It is actually pretty expensive. It adds up, because like I'm a parent going to watch my kids swim, and it's like, you know, I'm paying $5, $10, $15, plus a $2 fee on it. So I'm hopeful that we have cash, and even potentially, if kids could be able to buy maybe a season ticket, that's a reduced price, so they only have to pay that fee once or something like that, or if the price of the tickets go down to compensate that fee. Because again, we say, oh, it's only $1 here or $2 here. Well, $1 or $2 could be a lot of money for a lot of people if they like to participate in these events. And there's a lot of people, and that's good for the community if we have a lot of the community attending various sporting events and various events in Upper Dartmouth. So I hope that is not a barrier, and it does, I have paid it. It isn't cheap, it does add up quickly. I also want to say that the district reminds me a lot of ways of someone who goes into buying a home they cannot afford. They borrow 100% of the money to move in, and they don't have enough money to take care of it or furnish it. And I feel like sometimes we spend money and we make decisions, and it isn't the best. With the softball field having to come back, that's a $50,000 check extra, you know, not the end of the world, but that's just an example. The water drainage off the parking lot of Fort Washington that wasn't actually fixed, which we knew was a problem, and having to come in. I'm actually hearing the geothermal and the heating situation at Fort Washington is still a nightmare, an ongoing nightmare, not working right. The filters are supposed to be changed every 3 months, they're not getting changed. And again, I don't think this is a Bob Lester and facilities issue. That is not to you. I think it actually is more constraint on budgeting. Money, process, cost, and not having maybe enough people to take care of it. I don't know what the problem is, but there are things that need to be fixed around here. In all these buildings, these are really expensive assets that need care, and they cost money. And I don't know that we have ever really factored that in and really taken care of our buildings to the utmost that they need to. And then what happens is they get run down faster, and it costs more money in the end, as opposed to you fix it along the way and you keep it going well, and then you don't have to replace it and tear it down. And so again, I go back to the taxes and how we're spending the money, and I just want us to try to be more thoughtful. And this, again, is not personal attack on anybody, ever. It is just when we're spending money on conferences or, you know, kids going on a trip that the school districts pay outlaying money for only a few kids, it's like, what are we doing? Is it worth the money? And are we spending money smartly? Are we working with our township to save money? Not just meeting with them, but actually working with them. I don't know. I think we can do better. I really do. And I think that these constant tax increases it's getting tiresome to people, and it's getting frustrating. Nobody even comes to these meetings anymore, because I've noticed there's like no response from the board. None. Not from the superintendent, not from the board. There's no conversation. There's no dialogue. There's no communication. The community has kind of thrown up their hands. If they're emailing me and IM me, and what am I? I just come to these meetings and speak. But I get constant, I would say daily, I get comments from people that are just feeling desperate and feel like they're not being listened to, and what they're doing, that the board and the district is functioning and it's not paying attention to the people. And I just want you to be aware and know that, and do your best. Thank you.
Seeing no one else approaching, I will close the second opportunity for public participation. I will add we received no pre-submitted written comments. Any responses or comments from the administration or the board? Dr. Smith?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wallach. I would just like to comment that Mr. Luckman and I will certainly speak with Mr. Lester to determine if there are any HVAC issues in any of our buildings, but I would also like to assure the board and our public that we do have maintenance plans and we are maintaining our buildings and our systems as they should be. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Any board members with any comments? Okay. We will move on to our informational items. We have our enrollment report as usual. We have our liaison committee reports. Do any liaisons have anything to add other than what's in their written report? Mr. Sirota.
I would like to, as a representative on the Upper Dublin Township Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, just alert the community that there will be an open house on Thursday, June 13th at the library to discuss the Township Comprehensive Plan. Again, that's the Township Comprehensive Plan, not ours, which is also in progress at the same time. And we did have a meeting with the township just toward the end of this last week. The report is not attached to the agenda because I haven't had time to prepare it, but we will get that to you as soon as possible. The comprehensive plan and sharing information on our comprehensive plans and all of the data that goes into it was one of the many topics of that meeting.
Thank you for that update. Dr. Thomas?
Yeah, due to my mistake and an email glitch, I didn't get my equity empowerment liaison report out to be attached to the agenda. So I just wanted to share some upcoming events and some recaps of some recent events. The LGBTQIA+ Equity Subcommittee will be hosting the 5th annual Pride flag raising event on May 30th at 6:30 p.m. at the Upper Dublin High School flagpole. Students, families, and community members are welcome to join as the flag is raised. And the 4th annual Pride event will be held on June 14th from 5 to 7 p.m. in the Upper Dublin High School parking lot. And it's a family-friendly event with music, games, and lots of food and pride. And then the Asian American students and families just gave a recap of a great event where they had a fundraising yard sale at Aiden-Lair Park and had tons of participation from families and volunteers and high school students, and really had a nice event and a community gathering. So those were the updates for this month.
Thank you for that, Dr. Thomas. Anybody else? Okay, we have our committee meeting, approved minutes, education and policy on April 3rd, finance on April 17th. And lastly, we have our upcoming meetings. Our next education committee meeting will be Wednesday, June the 5th at 6 o'clock. Policy, same date, 7 o'clock or immediately thereafter. Our next finance committee meeting will be Tuesday, June 18th. Note that's on a Tuesday because of the Juneteenth holiday on the 19th at 6 o'clock. And our next legislative meeting will be Monday, June the 24th at 7 o'clock, at which time we'll have a new group of Cardinal alumni. With that, everyone have a great night. We are adjourned.